Hello once again, Star Wars and Unboxing fans. Welcome to another episode of Darth Tuba's Star Wars Unboxing Show. I'm your host, Darth Tuba, and finally, after weeks and weeks, I am happy to report that the unboxing of the episode of What Should I Unbox, we have had a basic tie of two items, one being the Ewok pack and one being the Force Unleashed pack. I have decided that I'm going to do the Unleashed pack first, and I will get to the Ewok pack very soon. The only reason I'm waiting on the Ewok pack, honestly, is because there's a few more things I'd like to do with the Ewok pack, in addition to unboxing it, and that's all I'm going to say. Nothing major, but it's just going to take me a little bit more prep work to do, and setup work. Really not prep work, but more setup work. I need to grab a few other things from the collection, if you understand. So we'll get to that. All right, so we have the two sets of 3 packs, I should say. We have first the Star Wars Force Unleashed Commemorative Collection, video game not included. I love how they do that. The Darth Vader with Incinerator Troopers. Now, for those of you uninitiated, the Force Unleashed was a video game that was released around 2007, and it basically is, well, I guess it's now what they call Legends. It's not canon, as it were. It's Star Wars Legends, and because everything that was, a video, comic, novelization of anything that was not the actual movies, the Clone Wars, Rebels, was a few years ago considered legendary, meaning maybe it happened differently. It allowed Lucasfilm to expand the story of Star Wars with new movies and new TV shows and everything else, and not be so kind of anchored by all of the games and things that have come before. And I have said this before on this channel. I think that was a really smart move because, everything that's already been written, don't get me wrong, some of it's been great. Yes, the Thrawn trilogy is fantastic. The original, Heir to the Empire and trilogy of books is fantastic. But there have been other things that were okay at best, okay? And to have to be kind of married to those things and not be allowed to expand outward to other ideas and try to tell different stories doesn't make a lot of sense. But prior to that decision, The Force Unleashed was a video game that took place, I guess it takes place the timeline is between Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, and Episode 4, A New Hope, where Vader is going after all the rest of the remaining Jedi, and there's this character that essentially is a Sith apprentice to Vader and that kind of thing. So I started telling you about the Vader with Incinerator Troopers. The other one is the Emperor Palpatine with Shadow Troopers. Okay, and I believe that there were only 2 sets in this particular round. There might have been some other ones elsewhere. I have to look and see. I think there have been a few. So, excited to share this information and to open these up. Now, another reason that I have no problem opening these up is that the boxes have been damaged. You may not be able to see that on the camera, but the boxes have been damaged. If you've watched this channel, I did have a flood about 6 or 7, 8 years ago now. But it did damage some of the box material. So that's kind of what I guess you could say it helped birth the unboxing channel. It gave me the idea to do that. So why don't we start with Vader with Incinerator Troopers? And Incinerator Troopers are basically regular troopers with interesting paint apps. In fact, this looks similar to, if you've seen the latest episode of the final episode of Mandalorian, it kind of has a look of that trooper that was in there with the flamethrower. It has a similar paint scheme. So I don't know if it's meant to be the same thing. It does say Incinerator Trooper, so that kind of makes sense. And that was a kind of a cool thing that the new generation of Star Wars makers are doing, is that they're kind of, they blew up the universe so that they can pick and choose from it. Okay? All right, we got 3 figures that are very well tethered in here. I'm going to try to snip them from this with this guy. Oh, that works. All right, that gets Vader out. Come on, Vader. So, and I'll get some close-ups of each individual. Well, you know what I'll probably end up doing? Either individually or I'll put them all together. We'll see. another. Again, now I will say that the multiple points of articulation can sometimes become a deterrent, and I mean that because, like, this Vader figure, he doesn't want to hold his lightsaber very much. I'll try his other hand. Yeah, he really doesn't want to hold his lightsaber. So unless you do have like rubber banding, kind of, or you use some kind of a glue thing, that's kind of a problem. So yeah, he does not want to hold it. So that's unfortunately not a great start. But it's one of the reasons why I kind of liked when they switched to 5 POA articulation. Because it just made them easier to manipulate. And yeah, you couldn't pose them any way you wanted. Another thing about this one is that his cape seems to be, I guess it's like permanently attached. But what they did was they made this kind of, how like he has a chain over his, in the front of his cape. They kind of made the chain just this little piece of like kind of silver fabric, and it doesn't really rest on him. It this cloth is definitely a very loose cloth, so it makes it a challenge for him to look good with it. And it's also very hard he is not standing. He does not pass the stand test. I'm going to try to, come on there, Vader, what's with you? Stay. He's going to fall over, I know it. All right, and then we got his 2 troopers, which, as I said, are both, I'm sure they are both repaints of previous released figures. But they have a nice scheme on them, paint scheme on them. And they look pretty much identical. Again, this is in the 2007, they were using like a kind of an elastic, almost rubber band-like thing. They stand pretty quickly. That's good. The rubber band-like thing. This one, his band is still connected to his weapon, so I'm going to keep that on there. So, and his stand test is pretty good. All right. So there we have. Excuse me. There we have Vader and his 2 incinerator troopers. Okay. So pretty good job there. Now we also have Emperor Palpatine. And I just started watching, as I mentioned on my last episode, I just started watching I knocked over both. Well, I knocked over one. Vader fell on his own. I'm going to put Vader back here. Maybe he needs a little support. Like he has to pull up to the cantina to have a drink, which is sad, but what are you going to do? I was watching. I haven't watched Rise of Skywalker on the video yet. I've watched all of the extras. That's kind of what I do. I kind of start with that and work my way around. And while I'm on that, I'm going to do a spoiler alert if you haven't seen the digital release yet. But there is a really cool. There's a bunch. I mentioned it on my last episode. There's a bunch of great documentaries and Easter eggs and whatnot. On all the documentaries, but lots of cool like trivia stuff, but one of my absolute favorites is involving John Williams. Now, those who know me knows that I'm a music teacher and by profession, and therefore loving, always have loved John Williams. Okay, now once again, okay. Oh no, it looks like okay. Well, come on there, Palpatine. Yeah, okay. His grip holding the lightsaber is very good, so that's a good thing. His hood, it looks like he needs to keep the hood. I don't think they give you the option of actually putting. Oh, there you go. All right, the hood is a little bit weird. He kind of looks. When I get the close-up shots, he kind of looks like the Dink Dinks from Spaceballs. Dink dink, dink 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 dink. But he stands pretty well. And then you got the Shadow Troopers, which in this case, are they Shadow Troopers or are they Shadow Stormtroopers? Yeah. But this is interesting because they're not just all black. I kind of like what they did with this. They gave him this black with almost not even black. It was almost like a charcoal gray with silver accents, which is really cool. I don't remember if that was in... It's one of the few video games I've played, but it's been a long time since I played it. Okay, Trooper number 1, he survived the stand test. Trooper number 2, let's see, will he survive? Will he survive? Oh, come on, Trooper number 2. He survives it too. All right, so Vader and his 2 incinerator troopers, and Emperor Palpatine and his 2 shadow stormtroopers. Very, very cool. Now, as I was starting to say, it's one of the few video games that I've played. I very much enjoyed it, but I also learned from that game that I am not a gamer. I am not someone who has the patience or the time to commit to a game. I have students, you know who you are, that will play hours upon hours. I mean, we're talking an entire weekend from a Friday night through a Sunday afternoon with very minimal rest on a video game to try to beat the game. And that's great, and I love that, but I could never do that. The closest I ever came to it was way back when, and I mentioned this on a previous episode, we had a Blockbuster that was renting video game systems, Blockbuster, you could figure how long ago this has been. And we had a snow day, and it was a Friday. And I had a weekend then and I managed to get out, in spite of the fact that it was a snow day, and drive to the Blockbuster and rent a Super Nintendo system and played Super Star Wars. And I think I had Empire and Jedi too. And I tried to play those. And those were not like you could save your position. If you didn't get to the right level after 3 lives, you had to start over again. Oh, yeah, it was frustrating. But I did manage to get through most of the game. So, but it was not worth it at the end of it. I was just like, oh my gosh. Now, it was a little bit different back then because that was the only Star Wars we were getting back then. There wasn't anything else. I mean, there was no prequels, there were no cartoons, there was no sequel trilogy. It was just the original trilogy and these video games. And it was starting to get, we're hearing whispers of them maybe bringing toys back and maybe doing like a re-release of the movies, but nothing had happened at that point. So anyway, but fast forward probably 10 years, no, a little more than 10 years, and you got, The Force Unleashed. So I enjoyed the game. I thought the storyline was pretty cool. The actor who was the model and actor in the story, Sam Witwer, has gone on to do a lot of stuff with Star Wars. He has been the voice of Darth Maul in the cartoon series, as well as in Solo. And he is a very, very fun, knowledgeable Star Wars fan. He's also a big D&D fan, so you can hear him a lot on different people's podcasts and whatnot. So, all right, so the figure is mostly good. I think the only one I'm not too happy with is Vader, just because of the fact that his chain kind of looks like it's trying to like go over his nose, and the fact that he really has a hard time standing, and the fact that he cannot grip his lightsaber. So other than that, the rest of them appear pretty good. I think the Stormtroopers can grip their blasters, although I did allow 2 of them to stay rubber banded. Actually, no, I allowed all 4 of them to stay rubber banded, so I don't have to worry about that. But that will do it for this week's episode of Darth Tuba Star Wars Unboxing Show. I always say this week's episode. I should say this episode of, because I do it twice a week. And now with the whole hunkering down, going for who knows how long due to the coronavirus, I might be trying to, open up to some new things. Not permanently, but just maybe because I know that there's going to be a lot of time. People are going to be looking for a lot of content to look at. So I thought maybe I would, and since I'm home too, I thought maybe I would take the opportunity to try uploading some new content. Obviously, I don't want to keep unboxing all the time because, frankly, I would run out of stuff pretty quick. So I can't really afford to do that. I have ordered some things that will be coming in the mail, and when they do, I will do the unboxing. But there's some other things I mentioned that I'm doing. Obviously, I'm Darth Tuba for a reason, so there's some music stuff I was considering. But I'm trying to do something with a Star Wars feel to it. I've been working on a long-term project with my daughter, she's the artist who provided the art, the cartoon art of me at the beginning, and she is been working on something that I am very excited to share, but I'm not ready to share yet. Some small things and some big things. So I'm excited to, share a lot more with you. And while we have the time, I'm looking forward to trying to do that. And the other thing I was thinking about is some live Q&As, live streams, live Q&As. We'll see what happens, okay? So we'll leave it at that. And thank you so much for watching. Check me out on Instagram and Twitter at Darth Tuba, Darth Tuba Star Wars Unboxing page on Facebook. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, may the Force be with you.